Hello world. Patricia O'Connor and Frida Reba Darcy here. It is Sunday, Sunday, and on the Bonsai balcony. And what you see before you, same old story. What we're looking at is a few pines, little Japanese black pines. And hello Frida. Hello Frida. This is my partner in crime, Frida Reba Darcy. She is the pony in this dog and pony show, as I like to say. These are some little Japanese black pines. These are some guys that we started from seed, and my idea was, and what we're going to look at today is to fill these with substrate and plant these pine trees in here. And what that will do is give us a long tube of roots for the next year that we can then pull everything, and plus it will grow roots down here. So we'll have a good root base down here that we can always put in our bonsai pot. And here we'll have elongated roots that we can later tease out and do things with. We can make a pine tree that stands on woody legs, like some kind of cool sculpture, something, some kind of living sculpture like that. Or we could drape those over that rock for the root over rock of your dreams. Now, also remembering that in about 10 years, when Japanese black pines bark over, so too will those cool roots. So also what people tend to do is take elongated roots that you would get from here and then fan those guys out and put peat moss in them or some kind of moss, to keep them flourishing and stuff. And then you can make a huge woody wide base out of a tree. My 20-year from seed Japanese black pine would be a 20-year from seed Japanese black pine that's about that big around and about that tall and about this big around, if it weren't for the fact that its roots were grown out yay long and then fanned out in a pyramid shape, and then now that is as much the woody base as the trunk itself. All you see is bark from bottom limb staudiata all the way down. So anyway, what we're going to do is I have 4 of these. Yeah, 4 of these. Ironically enough, I have 4 of these, and 1 Frida. So I'm going to stop stalling, and we're going to. There are some unknown variables. There are still a few unknown variables here. Nothing too much. One, I'm not sure what my plan is to do with these 4 trees on the other end. I could have picked out trees that in yesterday's show we just wired. There's 10 of those right there, 6 of those right there that we just threw some wire to. We could make cascades or something out of it. Or I could do something more like the tree that I have back there over my shoulder, that 20-year from seed, what I was talking about. We've never done a root over rock on this show. I probably won't, for the simple reason that when we are looking at what we have space for and what we don't have space for, we'll have space for whatever we're dying to have. And if we're not dying to have it, we probably won't make space for it. That's, there's stuff that I would do if I had ample room. And in lieu of that, we cut it down to what we consider to be pure gold. But I do have some space right here, and I do have some space over there. And I was looking at that and going, yeah, you're not going to kill a bonsai tree if you put 4 colanders there. So the variables are, I picked these trees out because they are healthy specimens of trees. That is what we base that on. I also plan to, while I'm planting them there, throw a little wire to all of them because I want to have a wire down in here. I could do that later. I really could. I could do that later. That wouldn't be a problem to do that later. Anyway, I plan to throw a wire around these before I put them in the tube. The other unknown variable here is when a year from now, when there's enough root mass down here in the bottom that we can separate this guy from the pot and separate it from this tube and do that. How am I going to do that? Couple of ways. One, if the tree is small enough, I could wrap it up like you see people wrap up a bouquet of roses and slip the little wax funnel paper with a tree inside through the tube. Or I could cut all these wire straps loose, lift the root ball out, tease it, and then let it hang down, kind of wrap it like a stogie, and see if I could bring it through the tube. And if neither one of those, if I've let it go so far to where it's not going to go through the tube either one of those ways, then I would simply score a straight line on both sides of the tube and take my bonsai jack, the part that wants to open things up, and I would put it right here and pop the side of that PVC open, and we'll get it out that way. So that was something I was thinking about this morning when I was going to have you thought of everything, and the answer is actually kind of weird. I had thought about how I would get the trees out a couple of weeks ago, and I came up with a couple of solutions that were an enormous amount of trouble. I mean, they were almost like the NASA solutions to that. And then I went, yeah, that's not going to happen. And then probably went back to work or whatever it was I was doing, because I didn't think about it anymore until this morning. I made these last night. So yeah, I was like, oh yeah, how are you going to get those out of there? And I went, well, we can take them out of the bottom, or we can take it over the top, or we can score it and just kind of pop the sides with our bonsai jack. I guess if I had to, I could take one of those vibrating saws and cut slits down the side. But I mean, I work at a hardware store. We would probably have a means for such a thing, but that seems like that would seem a little extreme. Okay. Give this stuff a little chop down. The other thing is, because I don't know, like I said earlier, you could take a specimen type tree and use this as a technique to fan the roots out really huge and make a base for a really huge base Shoham bonsai. That would be like a showstopper Shoham bonsai. So if that being the case, I wouldn't want a lot of motion in there. Or I have another idea that seems kind of. But then other people, like I said, you could use those roots to do the root over rock, the root over temple, the root over over whatever, for sure. Oh, the crows sound like they're having a good time. The people at the pool sound like they're having a good time. Chop that down really good. Okay, so we'll start with this guy. Not knowing what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to do a root over rock or whether or not I wanted to do a cascade tree that would look like a mountain tree, I decided at this stage of the game, I don't really have to decide. I can I can facilitate that better. I can facilitate that for later by putting a wire on them. But then, as I was just thinking about it a few minutes ago, I don't necessarily know that I have to. I don't necessarily feel like I have to do that right now either. It's not like I can't put a wire down the side of that in that perlite. Now here's one thing. Oh, this looks good. Oh, looks good, y'all. All right. Pull this, rake some of this topsoil off here. I'm not wanting. I kind of want to keep it in camera where you can see it, but I've got myself hemmed in here. We'll just deal with it. Oh, this guy has some. This little guy has some nice looking roots. Weenie skewer. Okay, so I'm teasing out these roots quite a bit for reasons of I don't want to be locked into this cube shape when I've got, I don't want this shape to linger when I've got some really, really long roots going on later on. I don't want this section to exist looking all square like this, but some really terrific stuff that we grew underneath it that I can't mess with this because of that or something. So best that I deal with this part now. Also, this will make it easier for me to fit all this stuff into this tube. But just as I was kind of raking this topsoil away here, exposing the nabari, I was looking at some really cool root action here. It's some really thick roots. And once again, perlite is just that's the cup. This is the cup that this started in. You know what you don't see? A taproot. Everything. Everything in here is just as fine as it can be. I like that, bro. I just saw a trunk. I went, wow, that's a huge trunk with some really fine roots, and it was clover. So all right. So I've got some really nice motion already right here on the trunk. This would be a good time to clean up a lot of this bottom stuff because I'm about to throw a wire on here now. Just a little. Trying to give myself a path to wire around anything that might be a bud that we want to keep. Meanwhile, just the regular needles there. Clear those guys out rather than. There's quite a few little butts there. Alright. It gives us some room. A little bit of room to play with. Yay. So, without having a, yeah, like I said, I don't at the moment have a game plan for these guys other than what we're doing will make some pretty terrific trees. Took me 3 seconds. 3 seconds to wire a needle. Don't wire needles. Also, I'll just say this. I say things out loud, it's just as much to remind myself. Whenever you're doing a wire, pull a wire this way, and then pull it this way, and then pull it this way, and then pull it that way. Sometimes if you're just doing this, it goes okay, and sometimes it makes it kind of just rainbow around what you're wiring and not really applying your wire type. Also, when you're wiring seedlings like this, look at the color. Look at the color. This is all still kind of from here, this is brown, and it's just gonna get browner and more woody as time goes on. But if this were green like this is green, then that little bend right there would have snapped it. You could just as easily take 2 chopsticks and just snap the top right off. So that's why I always kind of say, be pretty careful. So now, no matter what, I do have some, I have some wire on that guy already set, ready for whatever, what's the best way? Ready for whatever idea we may have as we go. It's my big idea here, just to punch some soil down in there, to punch some of this soil, punch some of this substrate down in there. Which is what, that's working out pretty well. Here it is. nice warm day today. It's been really nice. All weekend it was pretty nice. Frida and I have been just chilling here at the house. I mixed up some substrate yesterday, and now I feel a little congested after breathing all that fun stuff. But we did a show where I wired up about six little Japanese black pines. I'm happy with the way those guys look. So this is working fine. I can feel this little tree kind of tightening up in here as I punch in this perlite. So yeah. So what I did was, what I said, it was unknown variables. Since I don't know what I'm gonna ultimately do with these trees, I looked out at the 30-something trees that I have there in the seed tray, and I picked out 4 straight, tall, vigorous black pines. Based on they were 4 that were sticking up higher than the other. I wasn't looking for anything that I'd already wired. I wasn't looking for anything that had remarkable shape to it. These were just 4 straight, tall trees, and that it would be the first of them. Over here, and then I think this one. That would have been in my way next. All right, this one, it's a little shorter. This is the color green I was saying earlier would cause me to slow down a little bit when it comes to wiring that. I would go easy with this part because that would snap right off. So why is that looking good? Is this an okay tree? Yeah, this is. Looking at a lot of weeds, that's okay. We're about to take care of those weeds. I don't really need to weed this in the conventional sense. We're about to do a lot more to it than that. I don't think the weeds are going to survive most of that. There we go. A lot of mycorrhiza. A lot of fine looking roots, but then there's 3 different species of plant life here. There's 2 different species of weeds and a pine tree, so I don't know who all those fine roots belong to, but we'll just peel the top off and let the vacuum cleaner settle it. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have to worry about weeding in the weeding sense of the word as much as I just. Now, pull away a little bit more of this. See what's going on root-wise. Another enormous amount of really, really fine roots. And again, these are the cups that these trees were sprouted in, and I hadn't gone through here. I haven't gone through here and removed the taproot or anything. They're just making this really, really fine fine roots. Okay. Just trying to untangle these guys a little bit without. Okay. All right. Yeah. Stay. I've got this size at work. I've got this size colander, and I've got some that are about this big that I would that I think would be great to do as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any pines that big, and over potting trees into something that big wouldn't really do anything but waste a lot of time and maybe kill some trees. So also 3 or 4 colanders that big would take up a fair amount of space, probably a little bit more space that I'd be looking to give up. But I think one of the first things I was told when I got a Japanese black pine was don't overwater it. And I went, what do I need to know to make good black pines? And they went, work on the roots. Work on the roots. That's probably the first thing you should worry about. And for the first year, I took the part where I was still worrying about the watering, and I took that to mean that while I was still worrying about the watering, we started wiring these things up and folding them up into circus animals the minute I figured out I wouldn't immediately kill them by wiring them. So yeah, yeehaw. But now I see the big deal about the roots. If you, I don't know, maybe everybody into this, personally, what I first got the appreciation for bonsai, I just started scrolling bonsai videos. I would type in a certain type of tree and find myself looking at specimens of that tree all over the world, and you find out some really cool stuff if you're asking about some tropical, for instance, as a bonsai, and you type that in there. Next, before you know it, you're seeing how they do bonsai in Vietnam, or Taiwan, or places like that. You'll see some places make a big deal out of concrete bonsai pots, but they're very ornate. And some places, those same places, in fact, will also make bonsais that you could stand on a ladder to prune them, and you could use a small ladder to get up onto the pots. So it's like little searches like that turn out to be so culturally rewarding, and seeing what other people in their interpretation of bonsai, what they do, it's just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun for me to watch. But one thing I kept seeing I kept seeing people do what we're doing with the colanders. I would see somebody that had a whole bunch of Japanese black pine, and there would be a table full of red and yellow and orange. Looked like they were ready to be loaded up with French fries. Just would make me want to go to the burger joint just looking at it. But they were all full They were all full of, wow, that's a waste of work. They were all full of Japanese black pines that were getting this little treatment. Yeah. I think I've stated before I'm not a big fan of bare rooting anything. I'll just say that. But I'm pretty much bare rooted these guys to make this happen. Having said that, we're gonna give them their minute to recover and feed them and do all that other stuff. We probably won't do candle. We will not be doing candles on these guys. It's the late season potting. So you can kind of see the difference in color. Woody, brown but kind of green, and then green. And I brought the wire right up to there, and I'm going to give it something like that so that this stuff is hanging around in case I need it later. This is on here in case I just see the need to do something wild and crazy. I've got the and it will swell up big and fat because of that, which I'm not at all opposed to. Let's see. Alright, go back and sit down. She'll be right with you. Uh-oh. Breaking out a spot in my mess for that pot to sit. Oh, okay. The one that I have that we did, actually we did two like this. I took some mesh, the same mesh that I used to put in the bottom of bonsai pot, the same mesh that you can buy at any hardware store. It's plastic mesh like you would use to fix a window screen or a patio screen. You can go to hardware stores and buy that stuff by the yard, or you can ask the manager if he has scraps. A lot of times there's some measurements left over that aren't exactly window sizes, and they'll put those in a bin, and those are for like gimme prices. So I would recommend that. You don't have to work at a hardware store to get them. The downside is a lot of times it probably isn't as thick of screen as if you were buying the stuff. But here lately, I've also seen people using another hardware store product. It's screen mesh, but it has an adhesive bottom. You could just stick those to the bottom of the pot. Now, why are we talking about the meshes? Because on the other one that we made, I rolled up a tube of that mesh, and then I used wire ties, like bread ties, to hold the tube shape. And I feel it's probably longer too. And I filled that with substrate and put a tree in it, and that tree promptly died because I believe because they were exposed to light from that mesh. I thought that that would be like air pruning, like what they're getting down here. Apparently, it wasn't the same thing. It kind of just did the tree in short order. So I kind of figured out that that might have been the problem, but I wasn't sure. So I actually went with the tree that I kind of liked a lot and put that in after I'd wrapped that tube in plastic to cut off any and all light, you know, and just wrapping that in black vinyl, and then I put a cool tree in there with some nice wire movement to it. I mean, this tree is already, whatever I do with those fantastic roots that are getting made, it's already locked into a really cool shape. So there we go on that one. So, but here's the other thing: if using that mesh wire, using that mesh tube like that, means that I still have to wrap it in plastic vinyl, then it could just be a plastic tube, right? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. To that end, this is a lot easier. I cut these up from a piece of scrap. It took me a whole minute, and no fingers were harmed in the process. And I then went over to our drill press and popped 4 little holes in the bottom side, which gave me something to wire this tube to the colander, which I ran some cheap old aluminum wire through the handles of the colander to help it stay in place, and then I did 4 of them, and I think I did them a little different every time. I don't think there was anything, I don't think I did anything so spectacular with the wire that I went, oh yeah, do them all like that. I think about the 4th one, I was on my third design. So yeah, all right, but hopefully the last 2. The good news is this is the last 2. The other news is there was only 4, so yeah. Good. I like the work that we did in yesterday's show. I need to do that. I need to do that to a few more. I could make those shows. I could sit there on the couch and eat popcorn and do that, or I could sit there on the couch and turn on the camera and eat popcorn and do that. I don't know. But this is actually exciting. This is a really cool thing that we're going to do with these roots, and what we to make really cool looking woody roots, and what we decide to do to these 4 trees. If we lose one of them, we'll assess why and amend what we're doing and pull up another victim. So yeah, it'll be these 4 trees or four pretty much just like them. But what we do with the roots, and I'm thinking about a year. But what'll tell us, for me, what'll tell us is when we have a substantial amount of roots down here in the bottom of the colander. That's going to be what I want to see. But I have already kind of I've already kind of daydreamed a little bit about what might be cool to do with these roots. And my mind goes back to just punching in Japanese black pine bonsai or Japanese black pine cascade bonsai, and watching these. Somebody just would generate videos where they've taken pictures or steel frames of other people's videos showing all of these pine trees or cypress trees or wisteria trees, or maybe pick a tree and type that into YouTube, and you'll see where somebody, and they play almost the same music all the time. They're very recognizable. But when you see that, you can see just such a vast amount of different things that, root over rock ideas. Or you see trees where there are these bark roots that were probably generated through with moss, from really long roots. But now there is no moss, and there are these long bark-looking fingers that the tree is standing on, and to my mind, it always brings to mind some War of the Worlds looking thing that's standing on spindly legs. And but on the other hand, it kind of, I'm just gonna say this is gonna sound silly, but at the same time, this is kind of what my imagination does whatever I think about what it is that we're about to create with these roots. Okay, picture this. Picture this little tree. Make some roots in there, some barked over, woody, spindly, kind of thick looking, cool roots that are 6 inches long, right? And then there's a big mound of roots down in there. So we've got this to plant in a bonsai pot. All of that grows in there, right? We can grow that in a pot. So we take the thing out a while from now, and let's say we throw wire to it, and maybe we're thinking a cascade. Instead of having a tree that has a limb that drapes over the pot seductively into a cascade form, what if we had a really cool rugged pot, right? And maybe a corner of it tore away, like how somehow some bonsai artists, some pot makers do their ceramic work now. And so we take that mass of roots that's going to go in a bonsai pot and we cut it in half. And then we take our long roots that we grew, and we take 1/2 of that mound of roots that are going to go in a bonsai pot, and we put that in a pot. And then we drape over the wooden long roots that we make. Maybe put one spiral in them. And down here now is our tree and that other root mass. So we bare root that other root mass and put wire on some of those big roots, and we put wire on that tree. And whatever motion we put into that tree, we complement that with the motion that we put in those roots. Then we pack those roots back up in peat moss or something, maybe a little plastic pot, maybe hang that with wire to the main thing, and just let all that stuff percolate for a little while. And we could have a cascade where the roots are in the pot and the tree itself cascades over the side, and then you've got this tree hanging over the side of the pot, and towards the back of it you've got a deadwood feature that was actually the roots, but you spiraled those things out to complement the same shape that you've kind of tailored into the tree going out of the front, and this bleached out, barked over, kind of, I don't know, I picture something that almost looks in elk antlers, dried, bleached out elk antlers in their style hanging over, and that would be something cool to do with all those really long roots. Uh, for instance, just for instance, I don't know that I've seen anybody do that yet, where you've got a tree and it would be so dynamic, and it would tell the story of a tree that was once on the edge of the cliff, and the cliff let go, but half the roots didn't. It's like I got you, and so the tree is hanging over the side and has continued. Oh, I forgot that. And would have continued to evolve. And so that would be, I think that would be a cool. There's probably some stuff wrong with that idea, like it would be really hard to maintain the energy, the energy of a tree that had so much of itself, not exactly with some apical dominance, with to have that much of the tree over the side probably would kind of do stuff to its energy that might not be the best. Could have left that a little longer. I might have got away with this. But anyway, it would also be really cool to do, that, like I said, that root over rock with those. You could, twist those things in and out of some stony looking fixture or permanent fixture, and make the canyon tree of your dreams there. Do I? So that little mat of roots that was plastic pot shaped, we could just let that go, I suppose. Did you cut that too sharp, Patricia? No. Try again. There. The boring. Did it. And not a single shut, Pat. And not a single, can't wait to needle was wired. good woody roots there too. Took all those guys out. I don't know. I've got enough. I don't know how show ready I am for this fourth colander. I'm looking down. I've got a pan like you would make soup in, a bowl like you would cook soup in, soup size. Gumbo pot size. That was about half full of perlite. I've got enough in there now to do the bottom, but I don't know how show ready I am, which is to say that I'll probably have to scrape it out for that fourth one. We'll worry about that here in a minute. These guys, whenever I do this, these guys feel like they just pack right in there really well. I think that's pretty cool. Okay. Success. These things, these little guys, it could be anything. Little moss. Not a lot of weeding to do to this one. Tree looks really healthy, kind of thick at the base. Give it a little squeeze this way, a little squeeze that way, a little squeeze that way. Whoa. Whoa. It all looks grand, it really does. Man, again, the clover loves this perlite. The clover and the pines both say two thumbs up on the perlite. That is one lush looking little Japanese black spotted, and we started this lush little beauty started in our kitchen. In that kitchen, I have also made a few pot roasts that were pretty good. It's pretty mean French toast. Ooh. Now this is another one of those. From here would be a no-go. Would pretty much be a no-go. On the, I could snap that off just as really easy if I wouldn't watch it. Easy. Grab me. So we'll say there. Ooh. Okay. How are we doing perlite waste? I mean, I can go shovel out some more perlite. We will have to. We will have to shovel out those. Okay. I don't really feel like y'all need. Well, I could use this. You could. I have a huge bag of perlite just off camera, but who needs that when I have this big old huge mess right here? I can just use this. Zero. I'm fine with that. I would say it'd be cool that it's already probably got a little mycorrhizal boost going on in there, but on the other hand, there's not going to be any roots from this tree going on in that part for a while. But this part, could help me out. How'd we do with our little mining expedition? That's funny. Okay. While I had no problem doing that whatsoever, I still came up short. That's okay. It's too late to not have some pretty honking good content. I'm about 10 minutes away from having 4 of these. You saw 3 of them, and that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going to injure. I'm going to injure stuff right here, and then I'm going to go off camera and chop this off and finish up this pine. I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you. Like and subscribe if you guys have not already. Our next drop will be midweek when we do our midweek drop, and yeah, this has been a pretty cool little project. I think I'm really looking forward to watching over the next year how these guys turn out. I think our end moment will be when these colanders get a good full base of roots. Then we'll know we're in business. Thank you all so much for watching.